guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to demonstrate to you on how to do a 5 basic stitches. But before we'll start embroidering, we need to have some items to be used. So first, we need an embroidery hoop and fabric like this. But because I don't have it, so I'm just going to use a small napkin. And if you have an embroidery hoop and the fabric, it is so much better. Next, we need an embroidery floss like this. And again, I don't have it here, so I'm just using a sewing thread. For the third item, we need a needle. And lastly, we need to have a scissors to cut the sewing thread. Before we can begin embroidering, we need to thread the needle first. Needle threading can be a little complicated at times, but if you're already used to it, needle threading is just an easy peasy task for you. If you are just start learning, you can wet the very end of the floss using your saliva to help you insert the thread inside the hole. After you have wet the end of the floss, you need to squish it between your thumb and forefinger. This way will flatten it out and allow it to pass through the eye of the needle. After that, you are simply going to pull the thread through the eye and cut the floss. After you have cut it, you need to knot the other end 2 or 3 times and make sure to cut off the loose stuff after the knot. So now, let's start doing the stitches. The first stitch that I will demonstrate to you is running stitch. The first thing that you have to do to make it easier for you to stitch, you can mark the fabric with a chalk, pencil, or any other thing that you have at your house, and you can use a ruler to make the line straight. As always, we need to start from underneath the fabric. It's coming up and all the way through, and we're going to do a stitch length and pull back down. And instead of coming up close to it, we're going to leave a gap and do another stitch length. We need to repeat the step until the end of the dot. To finish stitching, make sure you end your needle at the back of the fabric. Then you need to secure your thread. But how do we secure our thread? If you want to secure your thread, you need to take your needle in and out of the back of your fabric. Try not to go through the front. Pull the thread until there's just a small loop, and then lastly take the needle through the loop and tighten it. Next, we come to the second stitch, which is basting stitch. Basting stitches are intended to temporarily joining fabric for several reasons. For instance, basting garments seams allows you to test the fit or a specific placements such as darts, before sewing more permanent stitches, and it can replace pins. As always, you need to start from underneath the fabric. And to do this basting stitch, the step was quite similar like what you do for the running stitch. However, these stitches are more easier because you don't have to be careful about the length. You just need to do a few stitches at a time by simply take the needle in and out of the fabric. As usual, for the last step, you need to secure your thread. Again, we always start from underneath. And we're going to do a stitch length and pull back down. After that, we're gonna jump a stitch length in front and come back down through the tail of our previous stitch. And we're jumping a stitch length forward and again coming back down to the tail of our previous stitch. Repeat the same process until the end of the dot. And for the last step, don't forget to secure your thread by taking your needle in and out of the back of your fabric. Try not to go through the front and pull the thread until there's just a small loop. Take a needle through the loop and tighten it. To do a blanket stitch, we need to add more dot on top of the second dot until the last dot. After that, as always, we need to start from underneath the fabric. And then we're gonna go to the dot right here, pull it all the way through, and then from this dot down back to your line, you need to bring your needle up from the back and catch the loop there and make kind of an L shape. And then you are going to continue, so you need to go up to make that diagonal again. Come down from that stitch. Back down to your bottom line and go through this loop to catch that. Repeat the same process until the end of the dot. And then for the last step, end the blanket stitch just by do a tiny little stitch just shortly away from where your needle's coming up out of, and secure your thread. For the first step, we need to start from underneath the fabric. Coming up, and we're going about a stitch length and pull it down. Now, instead of pulling all the way down, you're gonna leave a little bit of a loop here. And then come back up through the middle, and then pull through it. And we're going to jump to another stitch length, pull it down, and you're gonna leave a little bit loop here again, and then come back up through the middle, and then pull through it again. Repeat the same process until the end of the dot. And for the last step, don't forget to secure your thread as what we have learned on the previous stitches. That's all for today's video. I hope it will be useful for you. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment down below. See you on my next video. Bye bye!